Back in the day, before streaming, before CDs, we listened to music on albums. A vinyl disc spinning 33 and a third revolutions per minute brought us great music one side at a time. 20 or so minutes of music, 4 or 5 songs usually, that created a single listening experience. This format exposed us to other songs of the artist, not just the hits, and often flowed in an order that was created to build and maintain or mold a musical experience for the listener.
Sideshow brings musical experiences from the past to life today. Here, we discuss and review individual sides of record albums we have grown to appreciate and hope you will too. Welcome to The Sideshow. All right. Welcome to The Sideshow. Mark is going to be taking this episode. So, Mark, why don't you let everybody know what we're talking about for this episode?
Thanks, Mike. Today, I'm going to take a look at the album Infinity by Journey, Side 1. This album was a big part of the music that was very popular when we were in high school, Mike. Journey was popular. This album in particularly kicked off that popularity of the band, and it had some songs on it that are still well known and still well played on the radio today, and still an album side that I listen to on a fairly regular basis. So looking forward to being able to talk about this today. And before we dive into the album itself, a little bit of background on Journey. Kind of an interesting band, and you've really, for a lot of the members, the origin of the band is in a really kind of unknown psychedelic rock band from the San Francisco area. They were called Frumious Bandersnatch was the name of this band, which received absolutely zero commercial success in their work. However, it's always interesting to see the talent pool and how it moves through the family tree of bands and music. Because of the 5 people in this band, 4 of them went on to play in the Steve Miller Band, a band that was much more successful commercially and much more well-known. In that group that went on to Steve Miller Band was a guy named Ross Valory. We're going to come back to him. The 5th person of Frumious Bandersnatch was a guy named George Thickener. And he was one of the people that came out to form the band Journey with some members of Santana's band, who was Neil Schon and Greg Raleigh. Now, as I said, Ross Valory, who'd gone on to Steve Miller Band, he ended up leaving the Steve Miller Band and joined this trio to form part of the original Journey as well. So we've slowly made our way through a couple of bands of now people that are not exactly new to the music industry, and I think that's very, very important in the evolution of this band, because Journey started out not as the band that a lot of people hear of them now. They were really much more of like a rock fusion type band. The influences that Neil Schon and Greg Raleigh brought from Santana, more of a Latin fusion type band, was really what they were looking for in this new band. And in that format, they went through 3 different albums. And in this, again, this kind of more of a free form type fusion, there was some back and forth about styles and some changes in direction, but they really had a hard time getting traction. The bottom line is they were really nothing like the band that Journey became, which was a band that 25 gold and platinum albums, over 100 million albums sold worldwide, at 19 top 40 singles, 6 of them were top 10s, 2 of them were number 1s, huge success. but none of that was attained in this early these first three albums, which are, I don't know, if you get the albums now, they're pretty forgettable.
I and it was only years ago that I ever even heard any of that music. I never actually purchased any of the Journey albums prior to Infinity. And you've described it pretty well. There's there's not really much to add to that. But we've done a sideshow on Santana 3, which both Greg Raleigh and Neal Schon played on. I mean, and so they were, Greg Raleigh played at Woodstock. And Neal Schon came in as a young guitarist and was dueling, playing back and forth against Santana. And so these guys came from success, and they I think they voluntarily left Santana. I don't think I don't know for certain, but I think they decided they wanted to go off and do their own thing, and initially they just weren't able to get, the word that you used was very apt, traction as a fusion band.
And that led ultimately, I mean, they were on the verge of getting dropped by their record company. And so, bowing to some pressure from the record companies themselves, they were going to take a change in direction, go to more pop arrangements. The talent was certainly there in this band. None of these people were novices that were playing in this band, and also they'd been writing for a long time as well. Well, 1977, they bring in Steve Perry as their lead vocalist at the same time that they're making this transition to, a more pop-friendly style that the record company was looking for. And, ultimately, this ended up, costing them their drummer. Ansley Dunbar was the drummer of the band. He had come from, again, this more of a fusion background. It's what he wanted to play. He wasn't real excited about playing pop music. That's not what he was there to do. But he stayed with them through the 1977 and early 1978 recordings of Infinity, which is the album we're going to discuss today. And before we do that, I just want to point out a little bit about what happened after Infinity. Infinity was much more commercially successful. They saw that they had a formula that was working. They did lose their drummer because of it. And they brought on Steve Smith, who became the drummer for Journey. And they kicked out another album called Evolution, which was in a similar vein, a little poppier than Evolution. But those two albums, Infinity and Evolution, formed the base, which would really launch them.
Evolution had more of a pop feel than Infinity. Is what you mean to say.
Did I say that? Yeah. Did I say that the wrong way around?
Well,
I apologize. That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Evolution had even they transitioned more to a full pop type song. Infinity still a little more rock pop. But those two albums, which again, and even grow more success from Evolution, and that set them up for a pair, actually three albums that were to come out after that. Departure, which had hits like Any Way You Want It. Escape had Open Arms and Don't Stop Believing, which is, like, I think iTunes has listed it as the best selling individual song from pre-2000. Huge success. And then an album called Frontiers that had songs such as Faithfully on it. So the Infinity, their album Infinity, was really the start of what would kind of spring them to incredible commercial success. And they ultimately, these kind of combinations of members ended up entering the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2017. So huge success. But let's go back to Infinity to take a look at that.
And the progression from sort of a successful rock sound, as far as like a radio-friendly rock sound, to more of a pop rock sound. I think Infinity was more radio-friendly than pop. I mean, it's like the sort of stuff that went over well on album-oriented rock stations. It was big
Yes.
in that context more so than like AM stations. At least it's certainly looking back, it seems that way.
Yes. I would agree, and I would also say, you're looking at 1978, which is, I mean, this is right as our age group. We were transitioning from junior high school to high school, right? At this time, and the next album, Evolution, came out in 1979 when we were squarely in high school. Huge success, and I would argue that brought a lot of people to listen to their earlier album, to Infinity, and that's certainly that was my experience. I think it was the experience of a number of people in our age group. Love the song "Loving, Touching, Squeezing" from Evolution, huge success, lot of airtime, lot of play, and people began to check out this previous album, which was also very popular. This was recorded again in late 1977 and was released in 1978. And it is important. We talked before about how these people were not brand new to the industry. They knew people and they were respected in the industry and they had the support of their record label, who clearly wanted them to succeed. CBS could have just dropped them when 3 albums in a row really weren't getting any traction. But they said, look, let's make some changes here and let's make some music and make some money, because they knew that the talent was there. And they brought in a producer, Ray Thomas Baker, who this guy had worked with a lot of bands. Queen, Nazareth, The Cars, Yes, Ron Wood, Foreigner, Alice Cooper, Ozzy, Devo, the Smashing Pumpkins he ended up working with. This was a well-respected producer who had some very special skills and styles that he wanted to. And one of them was the ability to really layer tracks of music. You hear this a lot in the work that he did with Queen. Queen was well-produced. It really allowed them to take their creativity and have a very unique sound. And you will hear, and we'll talk a little bit about this layering effect that was done in the production of the album Infinity. And there's a couple of their songs where this really shines, and it's one of the things that people think about when they talk about, that had kind of a neat sound. Well, it was the work. A great band is great, but to have great production of the music that they have is really what generates hits, which is what the record company was looking for, and what really the result of this particular album.
Well, and Queen, Queen was in their initial incarnation, they were a hard rock band.
Yeah.
I mean Brian May was a tough guitar player. I mean, and when he wanted to rock out and play loud, he could, and the Queen production, which in a lot of very unique way of going about things, Queen had, they were able to make it radio friendly. The sort of thing that would sound good on the radio and still have some, the sort of music you wanted to play loud.
Yes. Yes.
So a good way to take hard rock music or rock music and make it radio friendly, to use a producer like that.
So and it paid off in this particular case. So as we look at this album, and it's important to remember, this was the first album where this band was switching gears from this much more free form type style to the structure that radio friendly music or more pop rock type songs have. Much more structure, verse, chorus, bridge, final chorus, outro, with a guitar solo in there. Even with that, they'd bend that formula a little bit, which we'll talk about for some of these songs. But the first song, side 1, is a song called Lights. Now, this song is, looking back at all the music that I've listened to in my life, I put this in the category, at least for people of my age. It's one of those songs where as soon as it starts to play on the radio or at someone's house, you know what it is, and there's almost a desire to start singing along right away. The opening lines of this song, which is when the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay. The words to that song, same in concert. Mike, we saw Journey in concert when we were in high school. We went down to Summerfest and saw them. I've seen them again when I was in the service. And when this song comes on, everybody is singing along. It's you can picture this crowd of people leaning, swaying back and forth. Back in those times, it was cigarette lighters that people were holding up and singing along to this song. It just had that feel to it, and I really put it in the same category of songs like Hotel California that are instantly recognizable. And for our Hotel California actually came out and played on the radio before we got into high school. And this one, again, had more popularity as we were really coming of that age, which is, although it's not the same level, I kind of put it up there because it was a little bit more and a little bit closer to our age group when we were coming of age.
Well, it's a very simple song, and that big image, the opening lyrics, it was pretty easy to figure out they were from San Francisco once you took any interest in the band, and the sun shines on the bay. Yeah. The simplicity of the song combined with just the way it is presented, you don't need anything more complicated than that to achieve the effect that you described. This is a song that creates an image in your mind that's pleasant, that, you take some pride in, I want to be there in my city. Yeah. Whatever it is about the song, it does just sort of grab you in a simple way that's easy to appreciate. And you don't have to understand anything complicated about anything. Mm-hmm. You just have to enjoy the pleasantness of the song.
Yes, exactly. And this is, I said before, they still did a little bit of free-forming. This song actually, it starts with the chorus of the song, which is, when the lights go down and the city sun shines on the bay. I want to be there in my city. And then it kind of highlights a little bit of what we'll hear a lot with Steve Perry's voice, this ability to kind of coo or whoa, and bring the song along with his voice. The song is about, this is Steve Perry talking later. First of all, it's important to note this, although the song is known to be about San Francisco, where the sun shines on the bay, it was actually written about the song of Los Angeles, where Steve Perry lived at the time. He made the change to, and the line used to read, when the sun shines down on L.A. And I mean, I'm thinking about the butterfly effect of if that's actually how the song would have been released. I mean, I probably would live in a different country now. I mean, it would have had such a different. I mean, that's so drastically different than the way that this feels. But Journey was a San Francisco band. Made the change, which was a couple simple changes to a song he had otherwise already written. Sat down with Neil Schon, and they worked out how this was going to work for this band. But, they like I say, they kind of start with this chorus and they do a verse talking about him being lonely. He's, according to Steve, it was when he's touring on the road, wants to get back home to his city. Many people listen to it. They don't give a shit what it was written about. It makes people think about home, right? Yeah. When they're away from home, they want to go home. It's San Francisco, Green Bay, Chicago, wherever home happens to be. It makes people think about that. And being lonely, and everybody that's traveling is kind of lonely and they want to get home. And then there's a bridge that is a little more powerful, kind of really centerpieces Steve Perry's singing ability, which I mean is really showcased in his work with Journey, and kind of just more powerful lyrics. And then comes back down, and we return to the chorus again. Again, that when the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay. And in between, there's some guitar that keeps your foot tapping. Again, keeps your body swinging. A little bit of dance to it. It's a fantastic, memorable song that opens up this side.
The and sometimes that's what takes a little change is all it takes to take a song from a kind of a mediocre, inconsequential song to a song that it just is a great song. And and this song's simplicity is part of the reason why it's as good a song as it is, as far as I'm not a huge fan of Journey. I mean, after Evolution, Infinity and Evolution, I really didn't really follow Journey or have any real interest in picking up the albums beyond those. But this is just, it is a great song. And and if just the like you say, the imagery of the song alluding to something other than San Francisco, it just doesn't compute. And just the way the song unfolds, and just that body of water. I mean, in LA, you got the ocean, depending on where you are. I mean, in whatever part of, there are a lot of parts of Los Angeles that are on the ocean, Venice and whatnot. But just the ocean is different than the bay.
Yes.
And, you've got the bridges in San Francisco, the Bay Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge are very, and you can see land on the other side. It's got a different feel, and you envision the streets of San Francisco going down to the bay, and so when night falls, there's sort of a kind of a downward slope of things. It just got a whole different feel in terms of the imagery in your mind that is conjured up by those lines. And didn't they do a song on? Isn't there a song on Evolution called "City of the Angels"?
Yes,
which is about Los Angeles.
Yes, exactly. So they still brought some of that, brought some of that back. So it's a great song. It's a classic song, and a great way to start this side. And as you're listening to the song on the album, on a record, they move very quickly from one song to the next. Some albums will leave, a fairly significant gap of just air moving in between each song. Was not done on this album. You move fairly quickly from one song to the next. So much so that the next two songs are often played together on the radio. There is "Feeling That Way" and "Anytime," two songs. Much like, "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions" are played together on the radio. Many stations would play these next two songs together. In fact, so much so, I mean, I even see it. I'll be like in a public place, and the song "Feeling That Way," which is the second song on the album, will be playing. And if the next song, if they don't continue with "Anytime," you can see people are kind of disoriented and dismayed. So they played these along together. But "Feeling That Way" started out with kind of an a cappella vocal layering of what sounds to be like all the different members of the band singing. It just has a neat sound. It's got this kind of like it's several people singing, but there's a way that it doesn't. It almost feels like it's a single voice. And this was this production effect that was put into this album that they did in a number of places. They actually did it in lights as well. You're getting the sense that it's a group of voices that are singing the song. Another reason why there's a natural instinct to sing along. to the song. You already feel like there's a number of people that are singing. And this song again, they didn't go with just a traditional kind of verse chorus. The each of the verses kind of has two parts, so it starts out kind of a soft feeling of open my eyes to a new kind of way, gentle kind of voice. This would be Schoen's voice that's singing here. All the good times that you saved, just kind of a gentle thing. And then the verse switches. We don't move into a chorus or any, it just, the verse switches and it's Steve Perry's voice, a much stronger, much more upbeat feel to to the song, talking about, when the summer's gone, she'll be there standing by the light. His voice was very powerful, gets you moving. And it's thinking about a girl, right? Thinking about that way that the way that you feel with this girl. And the chorus itself almost seems to slow down a little bit. It's like, is she feeling? And then the whole band again in this layer effect is, are you feeling that way too? Is the way that this rolls again. This layered effect is very effective. And then the song moves back down again into this the slower part of the chorus, kicks back in with the more powerful kind of second part of the verse, and then ends with the chorus again, and much more guitar. It ends with this very solid "feeling that way," which is abrupt. It's again this layered thing where it's a number of people that are singing. It stops very abruptly and then immediately goes into the next song, which is Anytime. And this is the transition. It's so abrupt that you've almost got to play the two songs together. Definitely a different song. It goes again back into this kind of a cappella sound.
You certainly could play the songs separately from each other, but I agree with you. I don't recall ever hearing it on the radio when they weren't played together. Now,
yeah.
Back in high school when we were listening to WAPL in Appleton, which was an album, oriented rock station, AOR station, they had a little more elbow room to sort of stretch out. And so playing a longer, something that was 7 or 8 minutes, wasn't really an issue with the format of that kind of station. And, because I was trying to think of another example of a pair of songs that often got played together, and back in high school, if we were listening to WAPL and they played "Heartbreaker" off Led Zeppelin 2, they'd always play "Living Loving Maid" as well,
right? Yeah,
which came right after it, because there just wasn't a real long gap in between, and
yes.
Those songs got played together. And this was like that. Just first of all, I think that the 3 opening tracks of this side, Lights, Feeling That Way, Anytime. That is the high point, in my humble opinion, of Journey's musical accomplishment. I don't think you take those 3 songs and set it on the plate, they never did better than that. In my opinion. And the you mentioned the guitar sound. Neil Schon was a good guitar player. I mentioned earlier, he held his own with Carlos Santana.
Yeah.
And so now he's in his own band. And he was the only guitarist in Journey. And the guitar, particularly on Feeling That Way and Anytime, it's a very muscular guitar sound. When they when there's the guitar solo in Feeling That Way, it has got a hard rock feel to it, and that Roy Thomas Baker sort of radio friendly hard rock sound. It's a very classic rock style guitar solo. On the harder end than the pop end, And at the beginning of any time, I mean, you did a good job of describing how the harmony like vocals
Yeah.
at the beginning, ooh,
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
and then the second time, ooh, anytime that you'd need me. The way that the guitar comes in,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that has some oomph to it, and it was such a good balance of sort of radio friendly pop sound with kind of a harder edged guitar sound,
Mm-hmm.
and
It, it,
that they never really achieved again in the same way.
No, no. And and taking a look at this song anytime, okay, we're now in the third, third song. And yes, they have this kind of vocal overlays, the music kicks in. The song itself is pretty simple. It's a lot of ooh ooh anytime you want me, ooh ooh anytime you need me. With some fairly short verses in between that, and it's I see it's like someone is waiting for someone that they love, want to be with you. I need you. I hope that you need me too. And then really hold the whole notion of, look, anytime you want me, anytime you need me, I'm there for you. The second verse is that he's asking for all of her sunshine. His spark is all I need. So it's a song about someone that they're thinking of, someone that they desire, someone that they love, and that they're available to them anytime at all. Pretty simple and straightforward, but it as we end, it bridges away from those with this again, these layered voices that are like anytime at all, and then anytime at all, and it fades into with a drum kind of bridge into more guitar. That is, I would to Mike's point, it's probably the best guitar work that Journey did with kind of to cap off these three songs that start this side.
Well, both Feeling That Way and Anytime are about the singer is feeling he wants a girl. He's got feeling, I'm feeling that way. Are you feeling that way too? And so it's sort of, look, I feel good about this. And boy, it'd be nice if you did too. And it's just an optimistic, how could it be anything but, it's confident.
Mm-hmm.
And the anytime where he's, I'm standing here with my arms a mile wide, and anytime at all, and when you're in high school, and you got the hots for this girl or that girl or whatever, and you're feeling that way, and then it's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm anytime, you're listening to these two songs makes you feel that that's a good thing, that you feel good about it. You don't feel apprehensive or a lack of confidence. Now that's while you're listening to the song. It's different when you actually, when you actually
put
have
that into action.
Well, you got to put it into action. But it's not like we spoke very recently about Bob Dylan's jaundiced takes on various relationships. This is something. This is good. This is how you're supposed to feel, and and if the one you're looking at doesn't feel the same, well, just keep on trucking, and sooner or later you're going to find someone who's feeling that way too.
Exactly. Exactly.
It really it's just positive. It's a positive vibe.
That is certainly part of the packaging that the record company was looking for, right? I don't want to hear any of this sad shit, right? We want people happy, to be, and they delivered, right? I mean, they you look at, especially looking at the transition of the type of music that this band was playing before this. I mean, they didn't just, okay, we can do this. you know, and to your point, not only was it musically good, it had some good music to it, you know, a unique sound, you know, to it, but it's fun to listen to. And you know, I can picture the record company saying, just give me some songs that are fun to listen to, and they did.
And it's not sappy or syrupy or hokey in any way. It's that balance. I mean, these guys are up there playing hard rock music, really.
Yeah.
But it's got that radio friendliness, and it's something that's going to make you optimistic rather than pessimistic. And why not? You know, what's the downside of that? Especially the two that feeling that way anytime. It's about as good as Journey ever was.
Yes,
in my opinion. In my opinion.
And you know, so we start out with those three songs, and that's a good trio of songs from, you know, you take a look at, you know, good music, commercially successful, popular, memorable type song. I mean, really, really good start. And, you know, the last two songs do not live up to that level, but they're still good songs. They're easy listening to, and I don't necessarily mean soft listening, but it's an easy way to end the side, and it still is a side that stands well with those. The next song is a song called La Doo Da, and this is a very simple, straightforward song. It starts out, there's a heaviness, kind of a dun 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 dun. You know,
it's a hard rock song.
Yes,
it really is.
To get us going. The lyrics are very simple. There's two short verses, and I really get the feeling that they just kind of ran out of the energy to write the lyrics for the verse. So for the chorus, excuse me. I mean, so he just ended up with la do da do day, la, you know, just kind of a through both of the choruses. And which, I mean, I really think that the Beatles ended up doing that a lot. They wrote their songs. They didn't have the lyrics done. They got the music down. They were using, you know, do and kind of wah-ing through the songs. And it's clear there was times they just decided, we don't need any lyrics here. Let's just use the do. And Paul McCartney certainly did that as well. That may have been the case here because there isn't a lot more to get about that. You know, really simple kind of rock and roll pop lyrics in this song. Something about you, baby, really knocks me off my feet. You know, it's, again, not a lot of worldly insight there, you know, about relationships or anything. Something about you, sweetheart, brings this poor boy to his knees. Okay, you know, I mean, the girly digs, right? And then it's la do da do day, and it basically goes very similar second verse goes into the La Doo Da. And again, a hard rock kind of driving song. With that, nothing particularly memorable or, you know, about the song, more than it keeps you moving along and your foot tapping while it's going.
Well, and, you know, going to the side aspect of the situation, which is something that's pertinent here on the sideshow. You know, when this album got played, you know, back in the day, you know, we were at a beer party in high school, and this, you know, where just before CDs were out, and if you know, at parties, they were either playing the radio, which is usually like WAPL, or people were playing sides of albums.
Yep,
and
you got the whole side.
And when you put on this side, after you get through the first three songs and you get to this one, there was nobody like, oh, take that off.
Oh yeah,
you know, no, it just you listen to it, and it was, you know, with the, you know, all these years later, you look back and like, well, it's not quite as good as the other one, but back when you're in high school with that sort of optimism that we were talking about regarding the, you know, feeling that way in any time, this kept that going. This was an upbeat, positive, not down in the dumps song.
Absolutely. And, I don't mean to say I don't consider this any type of throwaway
Yeah.
song. I mean, if I'm listening to this now, this album on like a streaming platform or something, I keep moving right through these songs and enjoy them. There are actually some good songs on the second side of the album. If you're listening to, this on, say, a streaming type experience, Wheel in the Sky is the first song on the second side. So it's not like they took all their weight and put it onto the first side of the album. So I totally agree. I more referring to the fact that, I mean, we really had three heavy hitters
Yeah.
as far as great songs on the that we started out with, and now as we close out the albums again, definitely something that's seriously worth listening, including the last song, which it really slows things down quite a bit. It's a song called Patiently. It's the last song on the side. I can just picture a singer at the end of a concert, kind of like ending out the concert like this. Someone standing there patiently, all the lights shining on me, for the song Inside of Me, this we bring to you. I mean, you can just kind of see this is what we do. We've got songs inside of us. We bring you to you, and I can see like a performance tired singer just standing there and singing these songs. There's just two, there's that verse. There's another verse, and basically you go back to the same first verse again, and then it moves into a much more powerful bridge, which just kind of just one in a million is what they say, and again focusing a little bit more power in Steve Perry's voice, and then some guitar in the to take us out of the song. Ends a little bit stronger than it started, but kind of a quiet, nice, kind of peaceful way to end the side with a little exclamation point on the very end.
I think it'd be fair to call Patiently like a power ballad. Because you kind of summed up, there's not a lot I can add about the song itself, but you can imagine it's a sort of song that would be, kind of like the closing song of a set before the encore, or potentially the last song of an encore.
Yeah. Yes.
Potentially. Now, I don't,
Yeah.
they may never have done that, the entire time they were performing, but it was that kind of song. Most bands save their, what are their more popular numbers for the end of a set or the encore. But just in terms of the type of song that would kind of sum up the end of the evening,
Yeah.
I thought was a good way for you to kind of describe the feel of the song. And then, slow songs that get fast, or heavier at the end. I mean,
Yeah. Not overly original.
Can you think of any,
Yeah.
and for kind of the climactic moment, and it is ending the side. This was, because I'd say, when I talk about, when people are hanging out socially, more often than not, you'd hear just one side, and someone would be saying, "Oh, put on some of this," or someone play some Leonard Skinner, someone would be, and so the end of a side, whichever side it was the end, would potentially going to be the end of the slice that you're getting of a particular meal, and this was a good side closer. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it wasn't, and I'll be honest. I mean, when we saw Journey, it was a long time ago. We sat in that parking lot a long time before the band started. It was kind of interesting. We were down at Summerfest, and the whole in Milwaukee, and the whole setup at Summerfest was very different back then. As far as you didn't have to purchase tickets for the mainliners or anything like that. It was basically a free concert that we're able to go to, and they were performing in an area that didn't have bands there all day, but somehow the crowd had gotten into this area, and the crowds were singing and clapping, and the band actually came out earlier in the day to do their sound checks, and they couldn't get them done because the crowd was kind of interfering with clapping and cheering and that type of thing. So they promised if everybody was quiet for a little while so they could do their sound check, they'd do a song, and they did. I can't remember what song they did. I don't think it was one of I can't remember which one they did.
It was off of Departure. Give me a minute.
So so we basically they weren't in their, I remember Steve Perry was just in jeans and no shirt, right? I think that he'd had like a white shirt on, but he had no shirt. And when he came out in the evening, he had a much more, this is again, kind of, late 70s, early 80s. They dressed up a little bit more in more of a costume to come out. But I can still remember, it's like, hey, we need to do this sound check. If everybody will quiet down, right, just to let us finish it, we'll do a song, right, for everybody. And
the song they did was "Where Were You?"
Where were you?
Off a Departure.
And so it kind of an interesting interaction with the crowd. I remember that, and I remember the songs. I remember the song "Lights." I remember, feeling that way, and I remember "Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin'" when they did that. I really can't even remember what they actually did for their last song or what their encores were. I don't know if I remember like those specific songs, but I don't remember where they fit into it was just a long time ago. And the same thing holds. I saw them again in Germany, and they were part of a big kind of like mega concert with a bunch of bands. So they didn't have their own like full performance. They were out for about 50 minutes or an hour, so it wasn't kind of more of a standard show. And again, I remember some of these songs being played, but I don't particularly remember the order. But every time the songs "Lights," "Feeling That Way," and "Anytime" were absolutely on the set list.
No, I can definitely remember because before the Marcus Amphitheater was built, adjacent to the Summerfest grounds, it was the main stage. And like you say, mm-hmm. I mean, if you paid your admission to get into Summerfest, you could go watch the main stage show without having to pay anything extra, which was kind of nice. But they weren't going to let people in until a certain time. So mm-hmm. that they could like do their sound check and stuff like mm-hmm. that. But like you said, somehow people got in there, and I don't know, I can't remember what time it was, but it was like 2 PM. This is in the middle of the summer, and so you had to get your seat because it was festival seating. There was no, there were benches there. It wasn't just grass or anything.
Yeah. But
if you left, it's like, oh well, let's go check out some other bands, and then we'll come back later. Well, someone to take your seats. And so everyone was sitting out there, and then so someone would stay at the seat, someone would go get beer or whatnot and come back, and so everyone was just out in the sun for
fucking hot. I remember that.
And I can remember a couple of fights breaking out, and nothing that was. It wasn't a big problem, but it was sort of like, geez, it'd be nice. We should have brought an umbrella or something. Because it was. But once the music started, I can remember there was an opening act that was kind of forgettable, but then when the concert started, just as it was starting to get dark, it was. I recall that being a lot of fun, and just for some of the reasons we're talking about right now, just upbeat, positive, put a smile on your face type material. And a lot of the shit I listen to isn't like that. A lot of the music that I end up gravitating towards isn't necessarily like that. But it was my recollection of that concert was positive. It was a good time.
And real quickly, before I do have the actual album itself here, this artwork style is you'll recognize it from all the other Journey albums from here. Their next album, Evolution, was very similar to this in the way that it looked, and then albums after that were really pretty similar with this, feathery kind of style. Picture of the band on the back. You can tell they were making that move towards pop. I won't give a close up here, but if you want to get an understanding of the size of Greg Raleigh's penis, you can just look right at this picture
He's
here.
got
You'll
an
get a
armadillo in his trousers.
Exactly. Not too shy about that stuff back in the 70s for their music. But what they did do with this album, the first side, really great side from start to finish with some an incredible start of 3 songs we've talked about and a conclusion to the end. A great example of a wonderful side of music to listen to.
I agree, and I would encourage anyone who is more familiar with a little bit of the later Journey material, who's more interested in something with a little more bottom end, a little harder rock sound. This is a great side, and it really is a good side of music, and in my opinion, Journey's high point.
There we go.
Great side.
All right. Well, great side, great conversation. And Mike, we will catch you the next time.
Sounds good, Mark.